Welcome back, this is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this really easy leopard peekaboo with some kisses on it, of course, just in time for Valentine's Day. As always, I'll make sure to put everything that I used today into the description box below, so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. Today I'm going to be using a 25-ounce stemless wine glass, or as everybody likes to know them, a snowman or a football tumbler, but they're actually really fun to use pretty much on any design. I went ahead and I prepped and I primed that just this tan color. And to adhere my glitter down today, because I plan on using a very fine holographic glitter, I'm going to be using the Tack-it Method. So for my new friends that don't know what the Tack-it Method is, I'm just using this special adhesive that once it is dried, it stays tacky, which is great for super fine holographic glitters to take and burnish them down to your tumbler to really get that hollow look exposed, which I will show you guys here in a second. As you guys can see here, I just take my Dollar Tree makeup brush and I'm just going to make sure that I don't leave any peaks and valleys in my glue. It's really important to make sure this glue is nice and smooth on your tumbler. That's really going to help out your glitter once you go to burnish it down. So just make sure it is nice and smooth. Now, once I have it nice and smooth, I'm going to go ahead and take my heat gun to dry it up really good, because you don't want your glue to be wet still when you go to do the Tack-it Method, because your glitter won't lay properly. So make sure it is nice and dry before you get started. And you'll know it's nice and dry because it'll go from a milky color to completely clear. Now that my glue is nice and dry, we're going to go ahead and move on to glittering. The glitter I'm going to be using today is SOC Sparkle Dust and Champagne. This is an ultra fine holographic glitter, like I mentioned earlier, and you can find this glitter at socglitters.com if you would like to. So the only thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to focus up around the rim, and I'm just going to let that glitter kind of cascade down. So you just want to take it and fully fill up your tumbler with your glitter. And once you have your glitter applied, now it's time for the magic. We're going to start burnishing it down. So I'm just going to take my hand and I'm just going to apply probably about medium pressure. Sometimes I put a little bit more force into it just to really make sure. I'll show you guys what it looks like if it's not completely laid down here at the end. But I'm just going to go around and fully burnish this glitter down. And after I got done, I kind of noticed up around my rim, you see there that darker spot, that's not fully burnished down. So again, I'm just going to come through with a little bit more force and really push it down, and there we go. Now it is nice and flat. Now before I epoxy it, I'm going to go ahead and knock off any of those extra glitters that might be kind of lingering around. I'm going to take my chip brush and sweep it off really good. Then after I get done doing that, I'm just going to take it outside and hit it up really good with my 2x Ultra Clear there. It's just an extra precaution I like to take to really make sure that my epoxy won't potentially wick away off of my raw glitter. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply about 20 to 30 milliliters of epoxy onto my tumbler. I'll place that onto my turner and hit it up really good with my blowtorch, and then I will let that cure, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. All right, now it is cured and we're ready to move on to that peekaboo portion. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the dimensions that I used down the description box for you guys, but more than likely, you know, it's kind of rare that you might use this style, but if you happen to want to use this particular style, then I'll put the dimensions down there for you guys. But if you're working on a skinny, obviously you just want to measure out your width and your length, and there you go, and this should easily roll up for you. But because we're working on such a weird shape, I'm going to break this off into sections. So I'm going to pull off the top portion of my pattern first, get that burnished down really well. Now I did it before I pulled up my transfer tape, but you could obviously do this after you pull up the transfer tape if it would be a little bit easier for you. But I'm going to go ahead and make some slits in my transfer tape. I'm just going to go probably about every other, or in between every, you know, leopard print and heart print there. And after I make my slits, I'm going to go ahead and pull that off of the paper backing. I find that holding the pattern down towards the table and then rolling the transfer tape off that way works the best for me, but you guys can obviously pull it off any way you would like, you know. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of my pattern and I'm going to lay that down first. The reason why I do that is it's very helpful, especially after with all those slits and everything. What you're going to want to do is just burnish down the center, and then you're going to take those tabs that you had made for yourself and you're going to pull upwards, so that way that pattern continues to go around the curves that we have going on here. So there we go. I'm just going to go ahead and finish burnishing that down and do the opposite side as well, where I just take it and I just pull it up towards the rim. Now you see there are a couple that are kind of poking up. I'm not too worried about it. All I'm gonna do is just, again, take those slits that I made and make sure everything is as flat as it can be onto the tumbler. And you may notice that it isn't fully wrapped around. I made sure that I made enough to come in and kind of fill in the weird spots. Because like I said, this is a really kind of awkwardly shaped tumbler. So we're just working with what we got here. I couldn't do a full-on wrap for it, but we'll definitely come back through and do pieces of this pattern to fill it in. All right, now that that top portion is down, I'm gonna come through and take some more of my transfer tape, and I'm gonna pick up the middle row. So roughly in the middle of that pattern here. I'm gonna burnish that onto my transfer tape, get it pulled off the paper backing, and you may have noticed I did not make any slits in it this time. That's because we're working more on the center curve of this tumbler now. So I'm actually going to be working with this in pieces. So I'm going to kind of line up a bit of my pattern here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it as taut as I can. So I'll take my scissors and kind of trim places that I need to, and then I'm going to kind of just do groupings of my pattern here versus trying to, again, wrap it fully. So I'm just going to press and lay down as much as I can, peel back my transfer tape, and just continue to add pieces of this pattern all the way around the bottom portion of the tumbler. So again, after I got that section complete, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull back my transfer tape and just scooch over with my pattern and keep continuing on doing that same motion where I trim if I need to, and just lining up everything as I go, burnishing it down, pulling back my transfer tape, and then continuing all the way around. Now, once I get this little bit of my vinyl stuck down, then I'm going to come through and pull up the rest of my vinyls that I have laying there to fill in any more gaps that I have going on here. So pretty much when I go to fill in the rest, I'm going to pretty much do it piece by piece, just making sure that I leave the same amount of room around the entire pattern as the rest of the pattern is. So that's all you pretty much got to do. And then you just want to fill in the rest of that with this leopard heart print. Or of course, you could have just done it this way to begin with. I mean, it's up to you guys. Like, there's no right or wrong when it comes to making art. All I know is I wanted to make sure that everything had that same gap. So that's why I went ahead and showed you guys that you can wrap tumblers with a pattern that are shaped funny. So that's all I wanted to show you guys here. But if you just wanted to freehand it here, you could do that too. All right, now that my vinyl is applied, I'm gonna go ahead and take it outside and give it a good spritz of just a basic black spray paint. I'm gonna let that dry up really good. And now we move on to the next part, which is removing the vinyls, exposing our leopard heart peekaboo. The only thing I can say about this part for anybody that's new is you just want to be very careful. You don't want to dig your knife all the way down up underneath your epoxy. You could accidentally pull up a whole layer of epoxy if you do that. So just very gently scoop up underneath your vinyl and pull it back, and there we go. And now your pattern is exposed. Now the next part, all we gotta do is put another coat of epoxy over top. And before I do that, I'm gonna hit it up really good again with my semi-gloss clear again, because I used a glossy black. I just wanna make sure that my epoxy doesn't wick away. I'm gonna go ahead and apply another 20 to 30 milliliters of epoxy over top of this. Place it onto my turner and hit it up really good with my torch. And then I'm gonna let that cure, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now, before I apply my last little bit of vinyls, I'm going to clean up my rim really good, give it a good sanding. I'm going to wipe that down really well, and then we can apply those vinyls. So the vinyl I used here, it's like a satin gloss. It almost looks like real lipstick. I really liked it. But I just got both the lip pattern and that leopard heart print right off of Creative Fabrica. Again, I'll make sure to put the dimensions that I used and where I got them down in the description box for you guys. But I just did up about 15 of these lips, and I wanted to keep them all uniform, so kind of in line, like they kind of have, you know, a pattern to them. So I'm going to do 3 in each row. All I'm going to do is apply 3 lips to the front, and then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to apply 3 lips to the back, and then just fill in side to side, making that just real uniform look to the kisses. Now, after I get all my little kisses applied, all that's left to do is apply your last finishing coats of epoxy, and she is good to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.